for Spreydon.
Kia ora, Tim Scandrett. I'm the councillor for Cashmere.
Kia ora, Julie, ko aroha nui Grace Tukuinga. I'm the governance manager here.
Oh yes, sorry. Did you want to introduce yourselves over there, staff, and then we'll have and then Heather and Julie as well. Yeah, you know who I am. Quote Heather. Yeah. Cool. Have we received any? Has anyone heard anything from Sarah? Oh. Oh, gotcha. Okay, so apologies from Sarah. And I welcome Julie up to talk to us about Leach Street and the Summerfield Park and Toilet upgrade. So you got 5 minutes and you sent through some presentations. Cool, up there.
Right. Thank you very much for the opportunity to talk to you today about Leach Street. Most of you know me and I've been here, done that before. So I'm going to take you on a road trip down Leach Street. So I hope I can work this. How do I do this?
Oh, is the button that's worn down with no symbol on it? That might be the one. Is it not working? Okay.
Just me that's not working.
I can see the light flashing.
Is she supposed to be aiming at?
Aim for this.
Oh, right.
So, so ever since 30 years ago, Leach Street residents have requested an upgrade. We've done 2 deputations. Does this actually work or not really? Oh. That's all right. That one, is it? Oh, yeah. Oh, wrong one.
I think it's the other one, the Leach Street one.
So I will mainly speak to the PowerPoint presentation. If you've got any other questions, so it's, yeah, it is on front of you. So yeah, I'll just flick through it very quickly, hopefully. Yeah, it's great when it works, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, done 2 deputations, 4 petitions. So I've been here, done that for the past 30 years. But the problem's not getting any better. It's definitely deteriorating. The potholes are becoming a lot more common and recurrent. In fact, the last week or so, I could have done about 3 or 4 snaps end and soles for the same potholes that they last a couple of days. It was 8 days to begin with, and now it's like every couple of days. The rain, the water must just deteriorate them. So boy races used and abused Leach Street 20 years ago. SRA have advocated, I'll see if this works. Oh, yeah. So 30 years of flooding, potholes, chip seal fixes, far too many snaps and soles. Leach Street residents have been quite, proactive with, and thanks to you guys doing the summer with our neighbours. But apart from that, it's chipping away at us like it's chipping away at the street. So thanks to SRA for kindly advocating for some concerns, but there's only a limit to what they can do. Yeah, flood events. So our toilets quite often overflow or just about overflow. We get recurrent potholes and it's just a band-aid solutions, basically the mix that's been put on the roads. It's not always down to the trucks. We have had many trucks. We've had many high density housing going down our street. So that leads to a lot of more concerns and that within our street. In the meantime, the gutters, I believe, are they were designed for horse and carts. They're not longer appropriate, I think, for this day and age. The gutter there you can see, that's where my friend sprained her ankle, and I believe there's been a few other incidents. So on the far right, that's basically what we're dealing with every day at the moment. The next day, it's basically like that. So it's like big chunks. In fact, I was going to bring you a sample. Is this going to work? Was working.
It's all right, I won't count the technology
Alright.
time against you.
Right.
It's- Yeah.
Yeah, so as you can see, I mean, flooding's not a new thing in the area, but it is a flooding concern, like even on the council website, especially ironically down that end of the Leach Street. It's historically known problem for flooding. So I'm unsure why there's been so many developments that have been able to be built along the stormwater drain in particular, along there. So whether that's why our toilets overflow, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going to happen one day when they actually do, whether that's going to devalue the price of our houses. So Leach Street really in 2023 now needs a really better long-term solution. We've asked for this for many years now. Residents were becoming a bit tired of the state of the road, of continually going down the streets. I, for one, have had to replace our car tyres quite frequently. So, I mean, this was designed in 1880, this street, and I believe that actually it needs to be a priority. I believe that it is on a list somewhere, but as to what that is, I believe it's just a chip seal, another chip seal. That in itself has enough hazards, like the amount of chip seal that comes through on our carpet, the tar seal that comes through and on our driveway, ruins our driveways, ruins our tyres. Yeah, so the amount of problems. Then also, because we have 5 properties within Leach Street, we've calculated that between the 4 units, only that's $12,000 that gets paid in rates, basically. And calculating that we have 5 properties within the street, that means $60,000 in total for rates. Plus, I believe there's $25,000 per unit for parks contributions as well. So I guess what our residents would ideally like is that some of that is actually spent back into the street. I don't think that's an unfair request, and it's clearly not represented in the amount of maintenance that our street gets. To just fill a pothole just to band-aid, I don't think is acceptable anymore. We aren't the only street. I'm aware there are other streets, Dunn Street for one. So additionally, Leach Street, the Wilderness Drain floods more, related to new developments, and also the sediments block the water flow within that. So yeah, ongoing issues. The camber of the street, I have had an engineer who's also is fully in agreement with the street that it's not practical, that it's not acceptable, the state of the street. The camber is not right. It needs to be reviewed. It's very high. In fact, you can't see a cat on the other side of the road. It's ridiculously high. So a new proposition, maybe a potential idea to increase parking, because there is lack of parking now with the high density housing, and also because it's such a wide street, it's 11 metres wide, is the idea of angle parking. So I'd like to suggest that as an idea that could counteract that, but yeah. So we just need to make our streets safer. We need to make it better. That's what it was like originally 20 years ago. You know, you can still see there's a bit of wear and tear in there, but it's a lot better than what it is now. Right now it's very rough. So to you all, thank you for letting me have this opportunity to talk to you. We do need your help. It has been a bumpy road. and it is a very bumpy road. Leach Street needs some attention basically, and after 20, 30 years of me doing this, I'm sure you're sick of me. So I'd be really grateful if there's some resolution that's better than just a chip seal and just Band-Aid fixing the potholes. I think it deserves more than that. And yeah, maybe some of the money that goes towards these high density housing is a way to make that work. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie, and just want to acknowledge firstly the long story it is, and you know, the fact that the SRA and other residents have been doing all of the right things, snaps in solve, you know, coming to the board, and you're back again. So I just want to acknowledge that. But we've got a question from Lee.
You alluded to this, and thanks for your persistence, Julie. I know we did the chip seal. Would that have been 3 or 4 years ago?
Yeah, and it's normally done on the hottest day, like
Yeah.
in January, the hottest day doesn't work.
But you've basically said it doesn't, it's failed. It hasn't, it's tracked, it's just not adhered, and you've still got numerous potholes. So we
Yeah.
probably need to look at a condition survey or some further advice. But yeah, no, I just want to understand.
Yeah, and then it becomes tar,
Yeah, yeah,
basically. The stones leave it, they go on carpet, wherever, you know, and it's just a tar. So if you walk down the road on your jandals, you'll lose your jandal.
Yeah.
If you put a coin in there, you'll lose the coin because it'll stick to the tar. So it's not appropriate. It's
And
not,
they've just gone over and over and over and over, and that's why the camber's there, because they've just, okay, all right, okay, thank you. I think
thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, Tim.
And thank you again, Julie. My understanding is that this Leach Street and Gardens, Grange Street, sorry, were the two that were going to be done literally just before the earthquake. And we know that Grange Street was, and so I'm just wondering, could we find out where they are on the list?
Yep.
Because that would be, because they were the two first curbs off the road. They were both the high priority for this board just before the earthquake.
Yep.
So that'd be nice to know where they are now.
Yep.
Just to find
Yeah,
out.
cool. No, I'm sure we can.
Dunn, I believe, was also another street that was
Yes,
meant to
yeah,
be
it
done
was,
as
it's
well.
Leach and Dunn, but Leach was
Yeah.
first, then Grange, then Dunn, I think it was. That was
Right.
But also, as Lee mentioned, be good to get the staff back to look at, do a report on it and the condition, because it was only done 2 or 3 years ago, and I do remember when it was done. It's needs a wee bit more.
Yep. So we'll ask staff for advice around the you know, the condition of doing a condition assessment of the road.
Yep.
What happened? Why is it back in the state after only a couple of years? And I guess, yeah, what is the priority for the street in the pipeline?
Yeah, because it's
moving forward.
Yeah, because it is partly about safety, but I think it's just about the general redo of the road. That was the list that it was on.
Yep.
So
cool. No, that's great. Cool.
So, and I believe the gutters is a huge part of that as well, really,
Yes.
because they block, they flood, they're not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're
Thank
a
you.
menace, those gutters. I think, thanks so much, Julie. I'll give Jane a bit of time. Did you feel like you?
So requesting staff advice on condition of the street and why it's in this condition after being, so was it fixed recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking it was probably 3. Yeah.
I'll use the word recently.
Yeah.
rather than recent.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll have that information when they come back to us. Yeah. Yep.
It usually gets done like summertime when everyone's away on holiday, and then suddenly you come back, oh.
Yeah. Where it sits in priority for road renewals. Yeah. I'll ask the question. Yep. Okay. And then your next forum is around the Summerfield parking toilets. There we go.
Once again, thank you for allowing me to talk to you. So big advocate for community connections and public spaces and encouraging safe growth. So Summerfield Inclusive Community is what I'm presenting to you today, if it works. Oh, maybe that. There you go. So Summerfield Residents Association and myself, we're seeking assessment and review via yourselves for Summerfield Community Centre and Summerfield Park toilets in particular, both in Studham Street. So both appear to be lacking inclusion for residents with disability, wheelchairs or pushchairs. Also lacking inclusion for gender neutral or culturally diverse residents, various ages and family units. So in particular, it's mainly the toilets that are very unfriendly, particularly for those with disabilities. I believe that the exterior of the building, which is owned by the council, needs to be upgraded, needs to be renovated. Look, you can see the paint, it's falling apart. It needs to be modernised and made more desirable for residents to use. I believe that it's not fit for community purpose right now. The community kitchen, Summerfield Community Kitchen requires review also. I believe that it may not be up to health and safety standard. I mean, I believe that someone hopefully will be able to come and identify the areas of concern more in particular. So, and then also Summerfield Park toilets, similarly, need to be redesigned, rebuilt for inclusiveness of all residents with various disability, gender, culture, age, family units. You can see that hey, the access way to the women's there, you cannot fit anything through there. You're lucky if a person can fit through there, let alone a wheelchair, pram, or anything. So it's not fit for purpose, inaccessible. It looks very unhygienic, and I don't know of many people that actually use it. So I believe that Summerfield Park does deserve a new toilet facility to include everyone. This one here is at Cashmere Playground. I believe that it ticks all the boxes for all of the areas that I've said. So thanks to Summerfield Residents Association for advocating for social wellbeing as much as possible. Once again, limited to what they can do. The money that is required to spend on these facilities well outweighs anything that we have or that even the Summerfield Community Centre has. So I'm speaking on behalf of the Summerfield Community Centre, and I welcome anyone to talk to them in particular more about the usage of that. I believe the Summerfield Community Centre gets used nearly 30 hours a week. So, and people do like the community centre because one, mainly it's cheap, because we've managed to keep the costs down. I think it's great that our community have been able to keep it within the community and manage to run it, but I think that it is very hard as volunteers to maintain a community centre by ourselves without support of yourselves, really. I must admit, I do go to other areas and I do get venue envy, community centre envy. So I think it's very important for communities to feel that they have a place within the community, that they can go to a community centre and create more connections. So yeah, so SRA, myself, request a full assessment and funding if possible through via yourselves to help reflect your support for this also. Is that going to work? I think the battery's fallen out. Is that working? No, I think that's me. Oops. Just the last one. So yeah, to you all, thank you very much for your time and consideration, and I hope you are able to support us with this. So yeah.
No, thank you, Julie. Yeah, and in terms of park facilities like toilets and community centres, being fit for purpose and inclusive is totally aligned with our values and our strategy as a board.
Yep.
You know, as you know, it's very expensive stuff. But yeah, we'll be definitely having a look into that, I'm sure. Lee? Oh, yeah, Keir?
Yep. Great.
Yep.
Awesome.
typically might know a bit more.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that we got that. I think it's an individual line item. If it's not, well, there's definitely a refurb amount for our area, isn't there? We were pretty adamant on that because even Callum, you did some early work on that in your first term.
Yeah. Around the
So
Eddington toilets.
there's definitely, we just need to find out where it is on the,
Yeah. Yeah.
in the long-term plan.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you've absolutely got our support with respect to the toilets and the community centre as well, I'm sure. Mel? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did you want to ask it?
Just now that the Hoonhay one's been completed, can we substitute Summerfield, because isn't this a living document?
Yeah, we'll talk through that soon.
Yeah. Cool.
Sorry,
Lee?
I didn't get to my question in the
Sorry,
end.
Lee. Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand the strength of the committee associated with the community hall. So is Tim still involved? Have you still got a committee that's
Tim and
active
Kathy
and
and myself effectively.
brilliant? Okay. Now it is a council asset, so I'm just trying to understand the level of service at the moment. Does it just get a tickle of paint now and again? You've not seen any major refurbs of that facility for
Yeah, so no, the communication, I believe, is a little bit lapsed. So sometimes things might come and get done, but
right.
not the best communication between. So
But in
yeah.
earnest, no
that's-
real money has been spent on that facility except for in 20, 30.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
nothing. So, yeah, in fact, the PowerPoints, when I used it, and I have been purposefully using it so that we can understand where the concerns are. There were 2 PowerPoints, one on each side of the stage. So, and that's the whole hall.
Right.
It's nothing else. So there's a lot of things that need to be reviewed.
It needs an update. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the centre itself well connected to staff? Have they got a working relationship, or is it?
It's mainly community maintained, I believe, and operated.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're best to probably ask Tim a bit more on that, but it is mainly that. So yeah, I believe it's very demanding for someone that's already working to be able to monitor that outside, but he enjoys doing that. But happy to seek help outside, like for more residents to come on board with it. But I guess we just need to know where we're at with the council, whether there's funding available, so that even whether we have working bee days and things like that, whether you could get the community involved. I'm more than happy to do things like that. We just need to know how the land lies, basically, with the community board and council first before we can say, yes, we can do this, or.
Absolutely, you need that certainty. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I guess it's kind of like the next step, because if it's got no disabled access and then the toilets are now behind what would be referred to as, I guess, how can it get build a warrant of fitness without, or being in the, because I hear maybe Tim's doing all the bits and pieces and there's a gap there because the big stuff needs to be totally refurbished with the toilets. It may be something in the kitchen, but so if you go to some areas, the kitchens are fine because, as you saw in that picture, it's got the fire extinguisher, it's got the hot water, so that's a functional kitchen, but the toilet's obviously not. And as it's got no wheelchair access, you'd be arguing to get his wheelchair into. There's no disabled toilet there, is there? No, so yeah, so I'm just, can we get asked to get that, get some feedback from the property team?
Yeah.
Because if there must be a gap there somewhere, because it's never been raised, sorry.
There's only a ramp down the other side of the hall, which is a very old path. I haven't got a photo, but I'm more than happy to send it, but it's better to see it in person, really, but the ramp itself is not even that
Well,
good.
we had one recently up the hill with regards to it has a disabled access into the building, but you can't get to the disabled access, so it's pointless. So
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we're going to, broadly speaking, refer to staff advice to the issues you've raised here today, and we'll discuss as a board what we can do to help out.
Lovely.
Thank you so much for coming,
Thank you
Julie.
very much. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Cool. Okay. Sweet. So we have reached the end of the